and welcome to Art of the Variation on the Uber Drill. And as I've been saying, we're going to cut this piece of purple heart to create a brand new from scratch Uber Drill. And while I'm on the table saw cutting this thing down, my neighbor Phil was doing some milling, and he gave me this piece of walnut. So this walnut plank. So I've marked out some places where I'm going to be making other Uber drills with the walnut. And while I'm on the table saw, I'm just going to cut these out, and then I'm going to put them away. I'm going to put them aside and do them later, because we are just going to focus on the purple heart. So again, the first thing we do is get our measurements, because we want everything to be balanced. So this is separated into 4 sections, this one here. So we're going to have the 2 devices which come off a spindle and the reloading base. So 2 of these are the core 2, and the other 2 are the other 2 devices. Also, the one that is the spindle is going to also create the 2 toggles, okay, whichever one that's going to be, because they're going to be equally sized pieces. Again, this is 3/4 of an inch wide by over 2 feet and by just a hair under 4 inches. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, so I've roughed out my walnut pieces for 2 Uber drills for the future. So we're putting those aside for now, because we're doing the purple heart. So 2 are our wing devices. This is going to be, or one of them is going to be our reloading base. This one's going to end up being 2 toggles. And here we have our spindle, which is getting ready to be lathed. So it's a 3/4 of an inch square. So we're going to turn a 3/4 of an inch diameter cylinder, okay, on the lathe. Alright, so here we go. Alright, so I lathed out my spindle. So here's our core 2. This one's going to be our reloading base. So I'll be carving out 2 sections here to receive base reloads. I'll be carving out the nocks on each side so that it can be pinned to the ground. Okay, and then it's going to get, the edges will get sanded down. But our spindle, the other part of the core 2, I started off with a 1/2 inch bit to get started, but the rest of the whole inside is 3/8 of an inch. So we take our 3/8 inch chopstick, and you see that wedges in there perfectly as a reload, spindle reload, because this will be the correct size if you do a hand drill. If I increase the diameter of the reload, it's going to be harder to turn if I'm trying to turn 3/8, and whatever's down here is larger than 3/8. But I should also be able to fit a reload that's larger than 3/8. I widened it out to 1/2 inch on the bottom, so in a way it tapers out. So then when we start doing things like toggle drill and pump drill, bow drill, larger sizes on there, can get a larger reload in there. The other half that came out of the piece that was the spindle, here's our two toggles, which are also our pressure mouth brace and pressure hand brace. So we're going to work on those later as well. And we have our pressure pump bar and bow and the pressure T-brace and also the flywheel, I believe. Alright, if I don't have those mixed up. But either way, we'll be working on these. I'm going to put a hole in the top here to receive the cord for both the thumb loop part of the hand drill as well as the pump drill. And I'll be carving out a tenon-like square here to receive the flywheel, which will be a mortise square hole, and that should fit down here on this taper. And as you can see, it won't be able to go much farther than there. So down here at the very bottom, we have at the widest point 3/4 of an inch, and at the very top it is 3/8 of an inch. Tapers down to this point here where the tenon is going to be is a little over 1/2 inch. Okay. I left a little bit of room to play with, just in case, because you can always take off, but you can't put back on. Alright, so let's work on these. Let's come right back. Alright, so I'm getting ready to fit some of these devices together. So I've started chiseling out the spaces that are necessary for the reloading base. My preference is to have one in the center and one off to one side, and that way if I'm doing something like pump drill or hand drill or something that's centered, when I put in the nocks for when this is pinned to the ground like this, sometimes I like to have it right in the center. But if I'm doing like bow drill or Egyptian drill or crutch drill or something that requires a foot on top of the base, I like one that's off to the side. So I don't really need one over here. So my preference is one in the middle, one off to the side with two nocks. So as you can see, I've started the chiseling process to work that down. And again, they are 1.5 by 1.5 inches. So here's our device that's going to be the flywheel. So I'm starting the mortise square hole, and for the spindle near the bottom, I've squared it off a little bit on the belt sander. I didn't make it perfectly square, but the dimensions of that is 5/8 of an inch square. Okay, and so the flywheel mortise should fit on top of the 5/8 tenon down here, and then we should be ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to finish the chiseling process on both of these, and let's get going. Okay, so I finished putting the mortise hole in our flywheel and our spindle. What I did is I put the tapered part here on the belt sander, and I squared it off. So now this fits just about perfectly in there, the tenon and the mortise, just like that. Alright. So that's not going to go anywhere. So what we're going to do now is we're going to finish up putting in the mortise holes with the chisel to fit the reloads in here and here. Okay, so let's do that. And there we go. There's our mortise holes and our reloads fit right in there. So the next thing is to finish work on these devices, as well as the toggles and the flywheel. We're going to put our hole in the spindle. Oh my god. And we're going to put all of these on the belt sander, round everything off, get rid of these sharp square edges. We're going to put the holes in for the pressure bar brace. We're going to put the holes in for the toggle drill, crutch drill, T-brace, holes, sockets. Alright, we're going to put our holes in the toggles that need to be there. Another thing we're going to be doing is we're not just going to be creating the 11 methods that come off the Uber drill. We're going to be doing all 15. So we're going to add the 4 from the civilized variations, and we're going to show those when we're all done as well. Okay, let's keep going. So here we have the pressure bar brace, and this is the bamboo one from the other set. So I've marked out the spots, although they're hard to see, where the holes are going to go for the toggle drill pressure lever brace and the toggle drill pressure T-brace. So I'm going to take a 1/2 inch bit and I'm going to start those holes now. So here we go. Alright, and there we go. So later I'll be smoothing this out on the belt sander. Alright, next. Okay, so here I have most of my cuts and my drilling completed on the Purple Heart Uber drill set. So I put the hole in the top of the spindle for the pump drill string and the thumb loop string. Okay. Here's our reloading base. I put the nocks in so that it can be pinned to the ground. So all this needs to have left is the sanding. So we're going to cut down all these sharp edges. So here's our pressure bar brace for the pump drill. I'm going to cut some nocks on the ends, and we're going to round this off on the belt sander. Here's our flywheel. Here we have our crutch drill sockets, which are also used for other methods, which we're going to go over as well. Toggle drill pressure lever brace socket, T-brace socket, right? And so we're going to round this off too as well. And here's our toggles. I made a few changes from the other toggles, like on the bamboo set. The pressure mouth brace hole is still vertical and in the center. I put the toggle hole through vertically next to the pressure mouth brace hole, so that's a little different. Because what I did as well is I put the this socket, which is also going to be used for the pressure hand brace, I decided to make that horizontal, because instead of it sitting in the hand like this, some people that's not comfortable, it would sit this way. Since the bamboo is thinner and the Purple Heart is thicker, I put the pressure hand brace sockets on the side. This one, as you can see, drifted off to the side a little bit, so it's a little off. Actually, they both drifted a little bit off, but that's okay, as long as they're not messed up or anything. But I created two more new holes. These are two shallow holes on the end, and it's possible for these to hold tinder, and if I seal it up, I could put some coal extender in these and just plug it up. The other ends, however, are a longer hole, because the hole on this end only extends about 1 inch. The hole on this end extends almost all the way to the center, and that's going to be for the yo-yo drill, which I'm going to show you later. Alright, so I'm going to put all these on the belt sander and get them fixed up, and then we're going to just go through all of them real quick to show what the methods are. There should be 15 to get them going, and let's go. Okay, so I've sanded down all the devices so the edges are no longer sharp anywhere, including the ends. I put some oil, linseed oil, on all the wood, and what really makes the Purple Heart, makes the color really come out. So I think we're ready to get started on testing our set. So for the occasion, I have some purple cord as well. So let's start going through all the methods of the Uber drill, including the 4 more of the civilized variations. Alright, here we go. Alright, so we're ready to get started on going through all the methods. We're going to do things out of order, actually. We're saving on my hands a little bit. That blistering is still recovering. I don't want it to come back with a vengeance. So we're actually going to start off doing mouth drill, and then we're going to go through all the methods, and for the very last one we're going to do hand drill. Okay, so I have a reload, base reload of pine, and our spindle reload of bamboo, and here we're going to do our pressure mouth brace. I have my paper towel, and we're going to throw just a little bit of dust in there for luck. This still has to get mated together because this was used on another set. But I think we're just going to go for the whole thing. Alright, here we go. And there's our coal. And there we go, our first coal with mouth drill. Alright? So technically, all the rest should be easier. So we're going to do mouth toggle drill, mouth bow drill next. Here we go. Alright, so we're ready to get started on the mouth toggle drill. Now, if you remember in the bamboo version, I used the bow, which is the pressure bar brace, as a toggle. Now that has a hole in it, but like I said before, I prefer knocks. But the problem with the knock is, if we do it that way, that's probably going to slip out during the motion. So what I've done is I've just tied it to the middle of the pressure bar brace hole, or the bow hole. So here's our toggles. Obviously one is huge. So, and we're ready to get started. So let's wind that around a few times. And we put our paper towel on our pressure mouth brace, and we're ready to get started. And there's our coal. And that's the mouth toggle drill. Alright, so that's coal number 2, right? Let's keep going. Alright, so we're getting ready to do the bow drill version. Here our pressure mouth brace is set up. Okay. Now I mentioned I like knocks for the bow and the pressure bar brace, so that's what I've done. Put a purple cord on there. So we're going to string that all the way down to the bottom of the spindle, so we don't take ori. But also, that's the thickest part of the spindle, so we want it there as well. Okay. So I have a new setup for the pine base reload. We're going to put a pinch of dust in there again. Alright. Brand new bamboo spindle reload, because the other one's too short. And then let's go. And there's our coal. Quick, right? Alright, let's let that go. And on to the next one. Here we go. Alright, so we're ready to do our bow drill version. So here's our pressure hand brace, or one of them. Right? Because there's two to choose from. Now, same bow setup. Okay. String that again near the bottom, so it doesn't take ori, and it's the thickest part of the spindle. Make sure there's tension on there, which there is. You can hear it. So here's our, now obviously this is not up against my leg. So what I'm going to do is brace the the pressure hand brace with my chest. And we're just going to start spinning. And there's our coal, which came out with the whole thing.
So smoky. See the blood, so smoky.
And there we go. You can see that really smoking there. I got half in the reload and half in the reloading base there. Alright, Egyptian drill next. Here we go. Alright, so we get ready to get started on the Egyptian drill. And here the string, the cord is strung around multiple times around the bow. Our pressure hand brace. Again, I'm going to brace this with my chest up here. Alright, it's a little hard to see. Maybe if I open that up a little bit. There we go. Let me switch around here. There we go. So you can see the inner workings of the cord. Even though that's not a harder wood, it's the same woods. You can see that would work just fine. Here's our Egyptian drill. Alright, on to crutch drill. Alright, so we're ready to do our crutch drill. So we get away from the small braces. Here we do the pressure crutch brace. Okay, so we're going to use a Phyre one out here, which is what that's for. Right. We'll do the Egyptian drill version of the stringing of the cord. String that one more time. Get that set up. There we go. So again, we're getting quite a bit of coals out of these reloads here. So this goes under here, and that goes under my arm. And that's working pretty smooth. I didn't even put any dust in there. With the crutch drill, I don't have to worry about making a lot of dust since I have a lot of pressure. I don't want to do too much abrasion as compared to temperature raising. And there's our coal. Now, obviously these are the same woods, but the point is really to go through most of the methods. Alright, and there's our crutch drill. Okay, next one. Okay, so we're ready to get started on the pump drill version. My kids are doing s'mores by the fire, and meanwhile I'm using the fire to do some branding for things for the scouts. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and put some branding on my devices here. So I know they're kind of hard to see, but so I put them on there. And put one on the spindle there, up there. So let's get set up, shall we, for the pump drill. We're going to put our quick clamp on the side, and we're going to take our pine base reload, okay, which is all set up. We're going to put that on the farthest slot, because we don't want the flywheel to hit the quick clamp like it might. Because we need space, right? Because that's one of our variables. So we tenon and mortise our flywheel with the spindle, right? So that doesn't go anywhere. and we take our cord and we put it through one of the nocks. Again, I like nocks better than the holes because it's easier to take apart, put back together, take apart, put back together. So here we put our cord through the spindle hole. Obviously I burn the end of the cord so it doesn't fray. Now we have to measure the height of the cord so it doesn't hit the flywheel, right? And we have to remember, we have to allow for stretch that's going to take place with the cord as we start doing our initial passes with the pressure bar brace, okay? That looks pretty good. So I'm going to cut the cord here. And I think we're ready to go. The brand new bamboo spindle reload. It's going to fit in there. We're going to carefully knock that in there. Let's put a pinch of dust in the notch. Okay. Let's line up our cord so that's even and balanced. Let's get that rotated. Now we want to really go for speed, not so much pressure. Remember to stay clear of the flywheel. You can see the cord is starting to stretch already. Hear the squeaking? You know what? It's stretched, so we're going to increase the height of the bar brace just by a hair by putting a knot in the cord, because it's going to start hitting the flywheel, I could tell. Alright. It was squeaking, which means that we got to bust through that glaze. And we did. So now we have friction. So let's see how we do. Our notch is starting to fill. Getting some smoke. I have to be careful about too much abrasion friction. I really want temperature friction to get that coal, which I think we have. Yes, we do. Alright. And there's our pump drill coal. And I think the branding is what really helped it. Not. Alright. Very good. Toggle drill is next, and Jake is going to help me with that. So be right back. Alright, so we're ready to get started on toggle drill. Jake here is going to help me. So here's Jake's toggles. Here we have our set.
Why is it purple?
Okay, because it's purple wood. So here's our reload, our pine reload. I'm going to face the notch toward me. Okay, obviously there's no coal in there. Alright. I'm going to face the notch toward me because he's going to be pulling any unilateral force toward him. So I don't want it drifting right into the notch. Okay. So here we go. I get on the table in our usual setup. Wind up the toggle for Jake. A couple times there. Alright, right? So let me get set up. So here's our pressure T-brace, right, for the toggle drill.
Did you color this?
I oiled it. Now I don't have to step on the board because I have the clamps, but that's the correct position. All right. Don't pull too hard, just go for speed. Get back my foot up there. Keep going, keep going, keep going. A lot of nice rotation, a lot of good speed. Okay, keep it a little lower, Jake. That's all right. Keep going, keep going. Okay, stop. I'm gonna carefully pull this out, and we definitely got a good coal in there. I'm gonna carefully hop down. All right, and let's show that. Some people there. All right, Jake. Good job. All right. Now I'm going to get set up for the one-person toggle drill, and then we're going to move on to finishing off that hand drill to save my hands, and then we're going to do the civilized variation versions. All right, here we go. So before I get this completely set up for the one person, I wanted to show you it was put together just like the bamboo version, where I tied this together, the pressure lever brace piece here, socket on one end, and the pressure bar brace on the top. And when you separate it into a V, that locks that down really tight, and then this is gonna be tied to our cross brace. All right, so you can see that that was done, and so now I'm going to tie it to the cross brace. Be right back. Okay, so we're ready to get started on the one-person toggle drill. I have the notch facing that way again because I don't want to pull drift into the notch this way with the unilateral force. I have the same amount of weight I have from the bamboo version we did earlier. So we have a 4 kilo, which is 8.8 pounds, a 6.5 kilo, which is 14.3 pounds, and another 4 kilo on top there. So I had to adjust the level of the cross brace bar. It seemed a little higher than before to make the pressure lever brace even, so that the weights sit forward, because the way I had it before, the weights were sitting back, and that wasn't good. Alright, so we have our toggles wound around near the bottom so we don't have a take ori, right? So let's get this warmed up. So I think it's just going to be just the right amount of weight for this to get this going. We don't want to really smash it down because we have to balance the friction. Remember, there's two kinds of friction. There's abrasion friction and temperature friction. And we don't want too much abrasion friction, because that's just going to eat everything up. I can already see the spindle going all the way down. And of course we have our coal already. So let's carefully take the weights down. Yes, you see your ruler sticking out of there to make sure they're all aligned and don't fall. You do whatever it is you gotta do for safety. So let's lift that up. There's our pressure lever brace sitting in there all by itself on the cross brace. And we carefully take out our reload and show it to you. It's already glowing because there's a good breeze blowing through my sunroom here. All right. Last ones are the hand drill and hand drill with thumb loops. And if my count is correct, the one-person toggle drill makes 9 coals. So hand drill and hand drill with thumb loops is going to make 11. Like the 11 we did before. And then we're going to do the civilized variation versions, which should make a total of 15 when we get them all going. Okay? Let's keep going on the Uber drill. Alright, so we're ready to get started on our hand drill now, finally, now that my hands have healed up. The calluses are are still there a little bit, but it doesn't hurt anymore. Sodal base reload in our Purple Heart reloading base. You can see there's nothing in there. Let's secure that down. And Sodal spindle reload in our Purple Heart hand drill. And we're going to fill the notch with some sawdust just to save our hands a little bit. Alright. And I chose Sodal because you have to choose woods if you're going to do hand drill that are within, that are able to be balanced within human limits, within that Goldilocks mean. Okay. Get my hands right here. Do our warm-up process here. And there's our coal. Sorry, my TV went on. But there's our coal. There's our hand drill with our Purple Heart set. Alright, so hand drill with thumb loops and start the civilized variations. Alright, right back. Okay, so we're ready to get started on hand drill with the thumb loops. We're going to do the new setup right next to it, since this one is now too low. The Sodal is very soft. You can see there's nothing in the notch. Secure our base. Fill that space. Here we have our thumb loops, which are, as you know, the pressure hand brace and pressure mouth braces, as well as other things which you're going to see. And again, they're held behind the thumbs like this. They're not exactly loops, but they secure the pressure. All right. So here we go. This actually has to be mated, warmed up, and go for it. So here we go. Try to just get as much rotation as I can, as much speed as I can, since I don't have to worry so much about pressure and blistering. And there's our coal. It's a wonderful thing. Look at that. Alright, on to the civilized variations. Here we go. So, the first of the civilized variations is going to be the Incantation Drill. Okay? So, in a way, that's like doing mouth drill. So, I should be able to pull that off, no problem. The other one after that is Jacob's Drill. And so, we're going to try and pull that one off. And after that is the Vice Drill and the Yo-Yo Drill, which are technically coming up but you're going to get a preview of them here. Alright, so let's get on the incantation drill. Let's get that set up and get going. Okay, here we go. Okay, so getting ready to do the incantation drill of the civilized variations. So I have my reloading base here, like we did with the incantation drill in the last series, and so the purple heart here is secured to a post. And how we're gonna do the reloading base is we're gonna put a sliver of wood here, and the base reload is going to secure that in there. So it should look something like, let me get this set up here. Hard to do with one hand, because this one is going to be, as opposed to the incantation drill previously, this one is going to be a south-facing notch. So there's our shelf. Okay, ready to go. Alright, you can see there's nothing in the notch. And I think we're ready to get set up. So our pressure crutch brace, which is also our pump drill flywheel, which is also our toggle drill pressure lever brace. This is going to be our pressure sternal brace going here. Okay. Get my hands ready. I think we could use just a hair bit of oil in there. Okay. Let's put a little bit of dust on there, just to get that started. Okay. Let's get set up. Again, the angle is slightly lower. And I drilled into the notch. Correct. Okay, so we're going to try that again. You can see there's nothing in the notch. Again, dust. I flattened the reload, spindle reload. Now the hose clamp is getting dangerously close to the shelf. So we'll see how that goes. And we have our coal. It's deep inside. But there it is. Alright. And there's Incantation Drill. Let's do the mouth. I'm sorry. The Incantation Toggle Drill and the Bow Drill. Here we go. Okay, we're ready to get started on the Incantation Toggle Drill. There's our toggles. Okay, and they are arm's length. Pressure sternal brace. And our spindle. We have a new spindle reload. It's bamboo, and it's not bamboo chopstick. It's an actual stick of bamboo. That's correct. Our base reload is pine.
Pine?
You can see there's nothing in the notch. My daughter Alexa is drawing. So we're going to do a north facing notch. So we're going to contain that space with the jute cord. We're just going to do one wrap around for now. Should be good. Now this hasn't been mated, it's only a setup. Okay. So here we go. Pressure sternal brace, spindle, toggles, wrapped around several times, and we're ready to drop my setup and go again. Yeah, you think that's funny, huh?
I'm kidding.
Yes, I know.
I think I see a ladybug.
You do? A ladybug
There.
on the ceiling?
Yeah. I think the ladybug's right here.
So the notch is filling nicely.
Daddy, I think the
I
ladybug.
think we have our coal already.
Oh, that is a ladybug. I want to see up closer.
Oh, that was a
Yep,
little
it
soon.
is a ladybug.
It's smoking
But
like anything
yellow.
now. Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, it is. Seriously, it is.
Again, I'm going to back off on pressure. Just go for speed. I don't know if you can see, but the
Daddy,
coal dust is actually coming up and over the notch.
I think the ladybugs like fire.
I don't think they like smoke.
They just like fire to keep them warm.
You think so? And we have it this time.
Come on, let me work. Come on, I can do.
And that containment works really well, doesn't it? Remember the principle of containment. It's not just a notch. All right. Incantation Bow Drill, and then on to the next. All right. Incantation Bow Drill. Here's our base reload. There's nothing in the notch. Go in there. We're going to put our jute containment there. I took the cord off the toggles and you put that for the bow. And like I said before, I really like knocks because it's really easy to take on and off the cord. I'm going to cut the excess off real quick since I didn't do that. I don't want that flying all around. I already tested it for tensile strain, so let's wrap our spindle. Remember, be careful not to take ori, even though it's a hardwood. And this might be a little difficult to see from your point of view, but again, I'm going to go across because I don't want to go up and down into the, I don't want to put the unilateral force in the notch. So again, I have one hand free, which is the principle of the bow, as opposed to the toggles. Toggles, you have two hands being used. The bow, you have one hand being free. So I'm using this hand to secure the pressure sternal brace up against my chest. That's all right. So we're just going to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, going. And let's have a look. Oh, that looks like it to me. What's your opinion? Let's move the containment cord over. And there we go. Okay. And there we go. Okay, next one. Jacob's drill. Here we go. Alright, so we're getting ready to get started on Jacob's drill. And in order to do Jacob's drill, you need a Jacob. There he is.
What?
So we have a variation of this setup here. We're using my bow, my bamboo bow, as the spring pole, and that's going to fit in the crook of where we do the seesaw and the oar drill on my Phyre dojo, and that's going to sit like that. I have a bit of a 3/8 inch rope that I have left over that we're going to use, and we're going to try and get as much of this in frame as we can. Alright, now I don't have the toggle box set up, the pressure box set up for this. Just for laughs, together we're going to do a two-person instead of a pressure lever brace. And so our base reload today is pine. As you can see, there's nothing in there. And so we're going to fill that with a little sawdust for Jake. Now, instead of using the pressure mouth brace or the pressure hand brace, the little ones, for a toggle, we're actually going to use the pressure pump bar, which is also the bow. So that way he can get a really wide two-hand grip on this today. So we're going to wrap that around several times. Now, Jacob sometimes has trouble with slippage by giving it slack. So, but we're going to be patient and just keep going with that. So I'm going to hold it for him as stable as possible. Jake, you're going to slack a little bit. Okay. All right, and let's just go for it. Let's see how it goes. Now keep it high up here, and we're going to move.
That was your alarm, right?
My alarm. Okay, hold on a second. I'm just going to move the cord down lower to the wider part of the spindle. There we go. Keep it high. There we go. All right, let's warm it up. Let's do a warm up. Don't give it slack. There. Nice and steady. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Go, 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 go. Okay, a little faster. Faster, faster, faster. I have a lantern hanging on the Phyre dojo, so that's what's clanking. Jake, don't give it slack. keep going, and we have our point. Okay, very good. Whoop. It's careful, thank you. Take that apart. And as usual, Jake, good job. Don't blow that out of the... You can hold that up. Tilt it forward. And there is... Blow on a little bit. Jacob's drill. All right. Good job, Jake.
Thanks.
All right.
Do we really need a Jacob for this?
So the next two variations we're going to do of the civilized variations of the Uber drill is the vice drill and the yo-yo drill. Now the vice drill and the yo-yo drill you haven't seen yet. They're coming up in the alphabet, right? One of the ways we teach in the Bujinkan, our martial art, is to actually show something without explaining it, and then what happens is that the person that's learning, the student, has to try to duplicate that. So what I'm going to do is show you the vice drill, actually originally known as the foot drill, which I'll explain later when we get to that. But this is my variation version of it. So, but I want you to see that it can be done as well with the Uber drill. So my variation goes like this. There are two nails here. Okay. The base reload is pine. Okay, it is a south-facing notch, just so you could see these. I don't know if you could see these things. Obviously, we have a lot of dust there. Now I'm going to hop on the table carefully. Change up a little bit. Go. that's our vice drill variation, which I'll explain later. But there it is on the Uber drill. Okay, yo-yo drill next. So our next one is the yo-yo drill, and although I'm not going to explain what's going on, I am going to show you what's going on, and it's going to take a minute to show you how it's put together with the Uber drill. Okay, so okay. pine base reload, bamboo spindle reload, yo-yo drill. And that's the Uber drill. And by my count, if we include the Incantation Drill, Incantation Bow Drill, that comes to 17 methods off of one setup. Alright, so from this point on, we're going to close up with Epimethei and move on to the next one in the alphabet. Alright, thanks for watching. Hope you're learning a lot. Alright, and finally, we're at the Epimethei section of the Uber drill. And so that was quite a lot of techniques and methods that comes off that one, right? So, in finishing up, there's actually something that I want to go over that I haven't mentioned yet, actually within the whole Friction Phyre series. And so a couple weeks ago, I was doing a little bit of friction fire training with some friends, Jason and Doug. And I had mentioned to them something that I had never really said to anyone before regarding training. And actually, it has to do with training in general, not just friction fire. So when you don't have enough materials, you end up not only having a poverty of training materials, you end up having a poverty of skills because you don't have the materials. I like to teach the scouts. I first learned this about it in scouting, Boy Scouts. And the whole idea of, one of the whole ideas of scouting, right, is be prepared. So it not only has to do with materials, but skills both. You have to have both. And remember, in some of the first 4 variables I go over, which have to do with Humphrey's conditions, if you recall, the need, right? The life-supporting need. There is reason. There is skills and confidence. And there's the one that I add, which is means and resources. And if you remember my stories about means and resources, how they're necessary. And in Humphrey's bazooka story, if you can remember that from way back when, they could not have pulled off that feat without having a bazooka, the bazooka story. So it's not just having the skill of shooting a bazooka accurately and well. They had to have one, and not only the bazooka, but they had to have a bazooka round. So again, it's like being a nurse without gloves or a surgeon without a scalpel. You have to have these things in order to be able to do your job. So when it comes to training in general and developing skills, you have to be able to have the resources. You have to have the means to develop those skills. And long time ago, and I still am very much into flint knapping, stone tool making. How I feel you have to get really good at that, not just that one skill, but many, is you have to have a lot of material to be able to practice with. So, a long time ago when I was very young, I took several $100s, and I ordered like a quarter ton, I think it was a quarter ton, of obsidian from Oregon, from out west. And it was crated up, shipped out here, and I spent basically over a month just breaking up obsidian and learning how obsidian breaks, which is, again, the best material to practice stone tools on. So you it's like the perfect material. And so that way you have an idea of what perfect material is like. And so when you're working with lesser material, you know how close you're trying to get it to perfect material. But then again, you need to have material in order to develop skills. And over the years, I've seen a lot of people who have been taught wilderness skills and have explained wilderness skills to them, but they don't have the skills to really do wilderness skills, survival skills, primitive skills. And one of the reasons for that is not having materials. Now, out there in the wilderness survival, wilderness skill, primitive technology world, there's another philosophy that's floating around out there that's also called the Scout philosophy. It's not a Boy Scout, Girl Scout philosophy. It's another kind of Scout philosophy. And it's a philosophy where the Scout goes without having anything. Like going with the barest of necessities, not having anything at all. and getting things on the go, on the run, and really living in a meager existence of not having anything. And basically this is really a way of poverty. And this kind of philosophy actually can, I think, set back your skill learning. So without, some people I think confuse this with not having any materials to begin with. So if you have no materials to begin with, you're not going to develop any kind of skills. So in order to get really good at something, you have to collect a lot of materials. You have to have a lot of resources, and you have to have them available, and you have to make use of them. You have to practice with them. It's like if you're in martial arts and you have practiced swords and spears and chains and stars and knives and all kinds of training tools, and yet they just sit there and you don't train with them, well, of course you're not going to develop any skills. But then again, if you don't have those materials to begin with, you're not going to get good, period. At least you have if you have the materials, you have the potential to be good. If you don't have the materials to train with, you're never going to get good. You're not going to have any skills at all. So, and it takes years to collect a lot of materials, especially seasonally. If you live in an area where, there's a real winter, where everything dies and then grows again in spring and summer and then dies again, it can be tough to get materials because you have to actually wait until they mature, and then you can't wait too long because then they disintegrate and then they're no good, and then you have to wait another year again. So for years and years I've been collecting materials. Some years I can't collect everything, and then I have to wait till the next year to collect more materials. Some plants I don't get, some plants I can get. And then I discover new ones to collect and try each and every year, so I'm still growing. So it's a lot. It takes a long time, it takes a lot of years, and it takes a lot of effort to collect. So, but I just want to say this, that a poverty of materials and resources is a poverty of skills. So you're not going to have skills if you don't have materials. And so I really just want to emphasize that in this epimethei section. So you're never going to be able to go through all the variables and learn all these things without being physically having the ability to do so, tool-wise, material-wise. Okay, just to keep that in mind. So the Scouts, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts have it right when they say be prepared. But remember, that's a duality. A duality that includes both materials and skills. You have to have both. And then you have to train. You have to train with both to develop skills. Okay? It doesn't happen through osmosis. Just having materials does not equal skill. So you have to practice, train, get a lot of failures, get successes, more failures than successes. All right? You got to work through those frustrations, and you got to keep going. All right? Martial arts is a lifelong process, and so is any life-supporting skill, including friction fire. So it takes a long time to develop all the friction fire skills and understand all the variables. Okay? So with that, we're going to move on. So from Uber Drill, U, we now go on to Vice Drill, V, right? The Vice Drill. So here we go. All right, keep going.